Good evening, everyone. Welcome to NTD Tonight. I'm David Lamb, sitting in for David Zhang. Here's a preview of some of today's top stories. Reactions to President Biden's State of the Union address. Find out what Trump and House Republicans are saying. A United airplane rolls off the runway after suffering a gear collapse during landing. More on recent incidents. San Francisco's mayor delivers her State of the City address. She touts anti-crime improvements, but critics say the opposite is happening. President Joe Biden delivered a raucous third State of the Union address, one that could be among the most important speeches as he turns toward re-election. Here are some reactions and rebuttals to last night's speech.
In a 68-minute fiery speech in front of the Congress and American people last night, President Biden touted his accomplishments in office and laid out a second-term agenda. He also addressed the concerns about his age and fitness and provided a contrast with the Republicans, including his rival, Donald Trump.
And I've been told I'm too old. Whether young or old, I've always known what endures. I've known our North Star. The very idea of America is that we're all created equal and deserves to be treated equally throughout our lives. We've never fully lived up to that idea, but we've never walked away from it either. And I won't walk away from it now.
In a video pre-buttal, Trump compared achievements from his own time in the White House to Biden's track record.
When I left office, we gave Joe Biden the most secure border in U.S. history. We gave him Remain in Mexico, very tough to get, but I got it. Safe third agreements, the asylum ban, Title 42, 571 miles of border wall, rapid deportations, and much more.
The former president also posted real-time reactions to Biden's speech on Truth Social. He called it the angriest, least compassionate, and worst State of the Union address ever made. During his address, the president insisted America's economy is stronger than ever, but Republicans took issue with that messaging.
Since Joe Biden took office, overall prices are up nearly 18%. It cost our families $12,000 more per year just to maintain the same quality of life that we had under President Trump.
This year, Alabama Senator Katie Britt delivered a Republican rebuttal to Biden's address.
Right now, the American dream has turned into a nightmare for so many families. We know that President Biden didn't just create this border crisis. He invited it with 94 executive actions in his first 100 days.
The White House has pushed back against the rebuttal speech, criticizing Britt for not supporting a bipartisan border and foreign aid deal in the Senate.
Now let's take a look at other top headlines. Also during yesterday's State of the Union address, a Gold Star father was arrested. Steve Nikui was charged with a misdemeanor for interrupting the speech after Capitol Police warned him to stop.
And America is safer today than when I took office. Year before I took office, murder rates went up 30%. 30% they went up.
He yelled Abbygate and United States Marines after Biden said, "America is safer today than the year I took office." Nikui's son was killed in the 2021 suicide bombing attack on Abbygate during the U.S. evacuation from Afghanistan. Nikui was a guest of GOP Representative Brian Mast of Florida. A Capitol Police spokesperson told media that a misdemeanor charge of illegally disrupting Congress carries a $50 fine and is typically resolved without going to court. In a major shakeup, the Republican National Committee, RNC, has a new leader now that former chair Ronna McDaniel has stepped down. Committee members have cast their votes at the group's spring meeting in Houston, Texas today. North Carolina GOP Chairman Michael Whatley, endorsed by Trump, won the unanimous voice vote to become the new chair.
I would like to thank President Trump for his trust and support. There is no one who has been more focused on fighting for the American people, and I am grateful for the opportunity to work with him to win and help revitalize our great nation.
Whatley will be joined by Trump's daughter-in-law, Laura Trump, who was also elected by a unanimous voice vote to serve as co-chair.
We have one goal: The goal on November 5th is to win. And as my father-in-law says, big league. We're going to win on November 5th.
This leadership change marks Trump's full control of the RNC, as he has become the party's presumptive presidential nominee after he swept GOP primaries and caucuses on Super Tuesday. Also in Houston, a United Airlines flight rolled onto the grass at George Bush Intercontinental Airport this morning after landing. The United Boeing 737 MAX, which left from Memphis International Airport, had 160 passengers and 6 crew members on board. Passengers deplaned on the taxiway and were bused to the terminal. No one on board was injured. Just yesterday, another United Airlines jet headed for Japan made an emergency landing in Los Angeles. The United Airlines Boeing 777 lost a tire shortly after taking off from San Francisco. Video shows the plane losing one of the 6 tires on its left side just seconds after takeoff. The tire landed in an employee parking lot at San Francisco International Airport. It then smashed into a car, shattering its back window, and broke through a fence. It finally came to a stop in a neighboring parking lot. The airline said the Boeing 777 is designed to land safely with missing or damaged tires. After the landing, the plane was towed away. United said it would move passengers to a different plane for the rest of their trip to Japan. The flight carried 235 passengers and a crew of 14. An airport spokesman said no one was injured. The FAA said it will investigate both incidents.
In her State of the City address, San Francisco's mayor touts anti-crime victories at the ballot box. But her measures have been criticized for possibly having the opposite result.
Thanks to the voters.
In what could be the official kickoff for her re-election campaign, Mayor London Breed on Thursday touted recent strides in homelessness and crime. During her annual State of the City address in San Francisco, she pledged even greater improvements under a pair of controversial public safety proposals voters approved during the March 5th primary. Proposition E grants police greater leeway to pursue suspects in vehicles, authorizes the use of drones and surveillance cameras, and reduces paperwork requirements, including in use of force cases.
We will be installing new public safety cameras in high crime areas, deploying drones for auto theft, car break-ins, and other crimes, and changing police department rules so our sworn officers are out in the field and not behind a desk.
Proposition F makes drug treatment mandatory for adult welfare recipients if they use illicit substances, or else they can be denied cash assistance. But opponents say it may actually increase the city's homeless population. But she faces criticism from more progressive members of the Democratic Party who say her ballot measures will lead to less accountability for police and more hardship for homeless people.
Our approach is about accountability, resources, and new pathways. This means arresting and prosecuting dealers, and when necessary, arresting users who are a danger to themselves. It means expanding existing treatment options and creating new ones, like abstinence-based treatment solutions.
Breed, a centrist Democrat, faces 3 serious challengers in November who say her administration has failed to deal with vandalism, retail theft, and rampant and public drug use. Mark Farrell, a former interim mayor of San Francisco, said that her efforts were anemic, too little and too late. Philanthropist Daniel Laurie said that Breed has failed to deliver on promises despite years in office. Breed said Thursday that she wants to bring 30,000 new residents and students downtown by 2030. The announcement comes amidst numerous store closure plans in the city, including stores in and around Westfield Mall, the Macy's store in Union Square, and clothing store The North Face.
$1.7 million for a public restroom? A new single-user restroom was delivered to San Francisco's Noe Valley neighborhood. The project has been getting a lot of attention since its price tag was announced in 2022. Now it's just weeks away from being open for public use. NTD's Jason Blair reports.
The new public restroom was delivered on Thursday and is currently closed off until the on-site setup is complete. The total cost of installing it is estimated at $1.7 million. However, a Nevada company named Public Restroom Company donated the facility to the city, saving $425,000. San Francisco isn't allowed to do business with companies in Nevada since it's one of the 22 states banned due to abortion, LGBT, and voting rights disagreements. However, it is allowed to accept gifts from the banned states. Chad Kaufman, the owner of Public Restroom Company, told ABC7 that he donated the restroom because, quote, "I just wanted to show why modular prefabrication solutions are cost-effective and easier. The sink is on the outside and the inside is small enough to deter anyone from sleeping in it. Following the delivery, it will cost the city an additional $300,000 for permits and staff to get it up and running. It's expected to be open for use at the end of March." Jason Blair, NTD News.
We'll take a short break now, everybody, but here's a look at what we have for you when we come right back. A new Forever stamp honors former U.S. First Lady Betty Ford. We'll take a look at the design and significance. What goes through the minds of people on death row? A new film explores a true story of Christian prisoners who face execution in a third world country. The NFL draft is just around the corner. Who stands out from the crowd? We'll zoom in on some notable prospects. Those stories and more coming up on NTD Tonight. Welcome back to NTD Tonight. I'm your host, David Lamb. A new Forever postage stamp bearing the portrait of former U.S. First Lady Betty Ford was unveiled this week. NTD's Christina Corona tells us more.
First Lady Jill Biden and Suzanne Ford Bales unveiled a new U.S. Postal Service stamp honoring former First Lady Betty Ford during a ceremony at the White House on Wednesday. Ford had openly shared her battle with breast cancer during her time in the White House, while previous First Ladies chose not to disclose their medical diagnosis.
She said, "The time for women hiding this disease in shame and behind closed doors has to stop. And who better to make that happen than the First Lady of the United States?"
Betty Ford served as the First Lady from 1974 to 1977 as the wife of President Gerald Ford.
Today, the Postal Service and the American people pay tribute to a woman of extraordinary courage and candor, to a transformative First Lady, and to a devoted wife.
The stamp will be available starting April 5th. Christina Corona, NTD News.
Death row. What goes through the minds of people the night before an execution? Is it despair, fear, or a sense of calmness? Audiences in Hollywood, California previewed a new film that reveals the true story of Christian prisoners who face execution in a third world country.
On March 2nd, the highly anticipated screening of The Firing Squad previewed at Warner Brothers Studios in Los Angeles, California. The private screening was a cinematic retelling of a true story about Christian prisoners who face execution in a third world country.
I've met people in my life, religious leaders in my life, that there's such, yes, some can get really, get up there and it just hallelujah Jesus, but some have this calm power about them, and that's the way I wanted to play this character.
And what really stunned me was the fact that the anchor said, "How would they feel right now, the night of the execution?" And they said, "They're calm." And the TV anchor said, "Why?" And he said, "Because they have a savior." As soon as I heard savior, I said, hey, there's something more to this.
The notion that a faithless convict can do a complete 180 and turn to God could sound far-fetched to some. But to Cuba, being forced to confront the inevitable might be the moment that changes it all.
What's darker than the fact that you know that you're about to meet your maker? You know you're about to end your life. And do you do it in fear? Do you do it in despair? Or do you give thanks for what you have and what has been given to you? And do you appreciate that moment?
To some first-time viewers, the implications of the death penalty go way beyond the legal concepts of criminal law.
In the movie, it mentions how everyone has a death penalty, a death sentence in the end. And I think if you think about it that way, if you just give up your life to Christ, then in the end, everything kind of just flows through.
Despite the film's Christian nature, audience members praise its universal message.
I wouldn't say that it was like a Christian film. I would say like it's a really cool movie, and then you discover God. You know what I mean?
I think that the message was very strong. I think that it's a message that's universal, that transcends all religions, not just Christianity, and that is that of forgiveness and compassion, and the ability of man to be redeemed, through faith.
The Epic Times and Epic Studios are releasing the film in 2,500 theaters across the United States and the world on August 9th. BJ Kang, NTD News, Los Angeles.
Shifting over to sports, we have NTD's Carlos Reyes here with us today to break down some exciting prospects in the upcoming NFL draft. Let's dive right into it. Carlos, great to see you. Now, Adonai Mitchell, the electric wide receiver out of Texas, has been making waves. What can you tell us about his performance at the Combine?
Absolutely, David. For starters, it's a pleasure to be here. Adonai Mitchell's Combine performance was nothing short of spectacular. Standing at 6'2", 205 pounds, Mitchell showcased his athleticism with a 4.34-second 40-yard dash, ranking third among wide receivers. His vertical jump of 39.5 inches and an impressive 11'4" broad jump further solidified his status as a first-round caliber athlete. Mitchell's journey from a three-star recruit to a standout at Texas has certainly caught the eyes of NFL scouts across the board. With his speed, size, and route-running prowess, he's a prospect with tremendous upside, and some teams may see his best football still ahead of him.
And moving on to the defensive side of the ball, we have Braden Fisk from Florida State, who could be a potential first-round pick. What's with all the buzz generating around this?
Well, David, I'm glad you brought him up. Braden Fisk is a force to be reckoned with on the defensive line. At 6'4", 292 pounds, Fisk's Combine performance only added to the excitement that he's already generated. His 4.78-second 40-yard dash, leading all defensive tackles, and a 33.5-inch vertical jump showcased his explosiveness all around. Fisk's ability to create pressure with a remarkable 10.6 pressure creation rate in 2023 sets him apart in a thin defensive tackle class. While he may be only 24 years old, his skill set and athleticism scream first-round pick across the board, making him a highly coveted prospect in this year's draft for a lot of teams that are thin at defense.
Now let's talk about the lightning-fast wide receiver Xavier Worthy, who's also from Texas. He has a 4.21-second 40-yard dash, which is making headlines. What can we expect from him in the NFL?
Well, Xavier Worthy's performance at the Combine is nothing short of historic, and I want to make that clear. With a 4.21-second 40-yard dash, he not only led all Combine participants, but edged his name in the record books. Standing at 5'11" and 165 pounds, Worthy's speed is undeniable. While he may not be a well-rounded receiver just yet, his ability to make defenders miss and cover ground in the blink of an eye is incredible. Given the increasing emphasis on measurables and athletic gifts in the first round, Worthy's record-setting speed could make him a hot commodity come draft day.
We also have Jackson Powers Johnson, a center from Oregon with an interesting profile. What's his potential impact in the NFL?
Well, Jackson Powers Johnson is a favorite of mine, and he's a broad and powerful center prospect out of Oregon. While he didn't participate in some of the Combine drills like other athletes, his measurements and scores paint a picture of a fierce competitor. With a production score of 79, ranking second among NFL Combine centers, and an estimated athleticism score of 79 as well, he brings a combination of power and competitiveness to the table, as well as heart. Although he may face some challenges in his rookie season, particularly with his pad level and drive leverage, Powers Johnson's discipline in pass protection and clear eyes could make him a long-time starter in the NFL.
Yeah, the draft is shaping up to be an exciting moment for NFL franchises. Carlos Reyes, thank you so much for your report and have a good weekend.
It's always my pleasure. Thank you, David.
Today, NTD premieres an original documentary that pulls back the curtain on Hollywood, from attempting to strip the Taiwanese and Japanese flags off of Tom Cruise's jacket in Top Gun Maverick, to a Chinese doctor saving the life of Tony Stark in Iron Man 3. Is it an artistic license or something more sinister? These are the issues explored in the new film, Hollywood Takeover: China's Control in the Film Industry. The film is available globally starting March 8th on Epic TV. For more information about the documentary, please visit HollywoodTakeover.com. That's all we've got for you tonight. We'd like you to join us again on NTD Tonight every weekday at 9 p.m. I'm David Lamb, sitting in for David Zhang. Have a wonderful weekend.